Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle, and I'm thinking I'm going to start a career in exopolitics, Niall.
Okay. And what's your plan on making money there?
I'm thinking I'm going to sell books and calendars and colloidal silver.
Okay. I was trying to remember the words for colloidal silver like 4 episodes ago or something, a while ago, and I could not come up with it.
Yeah, so you'll never forget now once that starts flying off my shelves here at Kyle's new... Jesus, politics.
Kyle's discount exopolitics.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, all your colloidal silver and books you could possibly want. We're also, if things are successful enough, I'm thinking I could get into like doomsday prepper buckets, like Jim Baker style stuff.
I fully did not realize. Like, I had the vague understanding that was a thing, but I didn't know how. Like, still a thing, but I didn't know how prevalent it was to the point where it just advertised on Fox during the day.
Is it really?
Really, like, straight up, like, buckets of, like, dehydrated meals and stuff.
Oh, my God.
For, like, doomsday preppers. There were commercials on Fox during the day. Yeah.
We don't have
I only know this because I would, back when I used to go out to lunch pre-pandemic, there'd be TVs on and I would see them.
I like, we don't have to get into this, but, like, hearing that, like, I already was like, man, it is so fucked up that I have like family members who like just have Fox News on all day. That's already fucked up. But to find out that they're advertising shit like that makes it somehow worse to me.
Well,
I didn't
your family
know it was
just
that.
has a hookup for like very good prices on dehydrated beef stroganoff.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're fucking good, man.
You need your big ass bucket of dehydrated mashed potatoes and like fucking whatever nasty chemical slop they put in those things. And yeah, I guess that's the hookup.
It just is like, it's like those videos of people eating old MREs,
Yes.
And I don't I don't need it.
I think that eating old MREs is far more wholesome than
doomsday buckets.
Doomsday buckets, yeah. But that's just me. That's just one little guy's opinion. Niall.
Yes.
Before we get into this, because I know we're going to talk more exopolitics, can I read you 2 quick emails here?
Of course.
Okay, cool. I'm glad. Okay, cool. With your approval, Niall, this is an email titled Quantum Leap from Aaron. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But I can't remember what episode we were talking about this. Maybe it was like 1 or 2 ago. It was like 2-3 episodes ago. Whatever. We were talking about quantum leaping and if the guy from Quantum Leap, Mr. Leap himself, attempted to save JFK from assassination. That's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah, because I was trying to remember if it was just like a joke that I had heard or if it was actually a description of an episode in the show.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Niall. This email says, that totally happened, but he didn't save JFK. He saved Jackie O, who Al said died in the original assassination.
Al's like the controller that sends him in the leaps.
Okay. I got okay. That's wow. So Al said that she died in the original assassination, but he saved her. So that's kind of amazing. That's really amazing. Like tying in fiction and reality, because Jackie O did survive in real life, and you have to sit there and think, well, did the guy from the TV show save her? Like that leaves you
Scott
thinking.
Bakula is Scott Bakula. I was about to say to blame, but he didn't.
Is he to blame for Jackie O's survival?
Yeah, that was. I mean, or is he to blame for picking Jackie O over JFK? Like,
that's
come on.
True.
Like,
yeah,
there's. I'm not saying which way I would have gone, but it does seem like maybe we can blame Scott Bakula and the character he played in Quantum Leap for the
Well,
JFK assassination.
Well, shouts out to Aaron from Kick-Ass Magic Robot for sending us that. Thank you for letting us know. We also had people in the Discord telling us about this, so shouts out to our Patreon donors. Thank you for letting us know. I'm not going to watch. I'm not even going to look up that show. I won't. I'm sorry.
This really
my
feels
purview.
like in terms of the emails and people. I think everyone's really glad that we gave him like a real softball, of a question to send in emails about, because sometimes the questions we ask are so fucking just like ridiculous and weird that there's no reason anyone would actually give us an email. So they're like, oh, thank God, they're just acting like they're just asking about something I can Google or I binged on Hulu or some shit.
Yeah. Also, opposite of softball, we have one other email here, Niall.
Yeah. Okay.
We got an email from classic listener. Can I call them a classic? I'm going to go ahead and say they're a classic listener.
They've been sending in emails for quite some time.
For
so
a
I think
while.
we can call them that. Yeah.
Well, classic listener Weird John sent us an email that says it was titled Bigfoot Confederate Flag, which is still like sort of a Manchurian Candidate style phrase, but just to make me laugh, to activate my goofy sense.
I think that just means it's a joke.
Right, exactly.
A phrase that makes you laugh.
Yeah, exactly. It's my trigger phrase to make me laugh. So, Weird John says, "Hey guys, so I'm a bit late on this email because I started a new job recently, which messed up my important task of listening to It Gets Weird the day new episodes drop. Understandable, it happens. I personally think that Bigfoot would have been a Confederate during the Civil War, or at the very least, the skunk ape would have been. I always saw Bigfoot as more aggressive, and his hairiness, lack of hygiene, and general backwoodsy behaviors just seemed like a Confederate thing to me. Either way, I tried using an AI art generator to make images of Bigfoot ripping the Confederate flag that's on fire in half. It was surprisingly hard to get a good picture, but attached to a few of the best out of the probably 100 tries. Great show as always. I can't even begin to express the images I'm seeing here. Some of them are not Confederate flags. I don't think it's very this. Let me put it this way: the images that were attached to this email are challenging in ways that I don't know if I can articulate them.
Yeah.
But hey, Weird John, if you're cool with it, like we can share these online and credit you with generating them and sending them to us because I bet the people will want to see these because they're pretty fun. I really like. There is one that has what appears to be a 3-armed Wookiee-style Bigfoot floating in the air above the trees, and there is just a beam of fire coming from God shooting him in the back. That's the best I can do to describe that image. So, I mean, would you say that's accurate, Niall?
I do think that's pretty accurate, yes.
Cool. So, those were our emails we had. So, we got 2 emails this time. Keep sending them in. And we'll read them out if you send us some good ones. So thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you all for continuing to support the show. So this week, it is the promised part 2 of our journey into the world of exopolitics. Where last week we did a full history of how they believe exopolitics came to be and its forebears.
What's his name? Sala.
Yeah, Dr. Michael Sala. We learned a bit about him and maybe why you shouldn't listen to all of his sources, or at least, vet some of his information yourself. But this week I wanted to dive into an interesting one of their theories, which is the theory of galactic COINTELPRO.
Right.
Which I find very interesting. So I really like people that do stuff like this, that like try to make their own like history of something through whatever weird lens they're going through. Like I like people trying to put a kind of a holistic view on events. So that this is basically, what if COINTELPRO also, tried to suppress the UFO truth? So it starts back all the way in the 1950s.
Now, here's okay. So first of all, this is one of Sala's ideas, right?
This is a thing that he wrote the. So, okay, this is part. There was a paper put out by this, I think, at one of the Exopolitics summits, one of their big meetings, that it was a collection of a couple things I'm referencing here, and then which were by Sala, and then there were some like kind of tangential things off of the basic concept by other Exopolitics writers. But we're mainly going to talk about Sala's theory. Yes.
Okay. Well, I just to be clear, so people are aware, we do have an episode on COINTELPRO that honestly, when I reflect on it, I don't think I went far enough in talking about that whole project, that whole fucking thing. I'd like to revisit that topic sometime because I found out a lot of information about it since then. But the short version is the CIA had this like covert psychological operation against groups that were sort of deemed subversive. Dissidents. But let's be real, its primary focus was trying to harass and also like assassinate members of the Black Panthers. That's what it was about. There's a lot more to it, but so the idea of like trying to take that idea and especially within a circle that, as far as I'm understanding, eventually got to QAnon bullshit and try
some
and
offshoots,
some of the offshoots, sure. So it's like, I don't know, they just seem like it seems like there's some people talking about this stuff and coming up with this idea, especially Sala, who have as far as I'm concerned, incompatible ideas about the world in their head that are just fighting each other. So that's how I'm seeing it.
Here's the thing: if you just stick to the through line, I'm going to go here. It'll all make sense, Kyle. It really will. You just you have to, for this to make sense, there'll be a couple things that come up that you just kind of have to take as real, and those are the things of the contactees such as George Adamski, and also that Majestic 12 is a real thing that it has not been heavily debunked.
So you're asking me to swallow a really huge pill here. Right now, I am going to have to choke down a fucking horse pill, and this thing is going to get lodged in my throat. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, you know how sometimes to like go to the course of the theory, you just have to like really just suppress some basic thing about yourself. We're gonna just be willing to ride this journey with me.
Fine,
okay?
Reliable old George Adamski. Let's get into it.
So we're going to go ahead and start in the fact that in the early 1950s, there started to be a lot more of publicly talking contactees, like people that start to have contact with human-looking aliens that are usually here to assist humanity to become either part of a galactic society or to just try to ward us off of our own destruction. They become space brothers, is what we end up calling them. And this is a whole wave of contactees that's going to be kind of the crux of a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. So start off with just everything you know about Space Brothers. And just that's where we're starting.
Okay.
The information revealed by these contactees presented what is believed to be an unrivaled national security crisis because it exposed two things. First, that these alien civilizations had advanced vehicles and technologies, probably weapons as well, that were far more sophisticated than anything we possessed in our secret programs and everything. This basically put forth a big technological gap between us and this superior race of beings, effectively. And this led to a second Manhattan Project, whose existence and funding was known only to those in the need to know, quote unquote. But it is just called Manhattan 2.
That's okay, sure.
And this basically really just kind of worked on taking and trying to advance our technology to meet the level of these Space Brothers. Second, the extraterrestrials would actually be contacting private individuals instead of the government. And even we're starting to integrate into our society. So we're now having aliens that just lived on Earth as humans. This was growing, kind of making a group of people that was growing who were trying to prepare us for quote unquote galactic status, where extraterrestrials would be officially acknowledged and open interaction would start to happen. So basically, we're fighting a war on two fronts here. First, people are going to know that there's all this technology that we don't have that is more advanced. There's people more advanced in the world than us, or outside of our world than us. And second, they are going to integrate into our society and cause a lot of problems that way, which is
Yeah, I can see where this is going.
You also can kind of see how this really just mirrors the fears of like the Cold War and stuff. Like it's very much like the normal way that America gets mad at people.
Yeah, and you know what? It just kind of reminds me that, Adamski, if he's sort of like at the core, like one of the big factors in this early part of this story here, like there was that weird underpinning of fascism with him too, right? Where like I can't remember all the specifics of it. I talked about it a little bit in the Disinfo series. I'll maybe have to do more research on this, but he had some weird connections with like neo-Nazi types and stuff,
Yeah.
and so it makes sense that this is where this idea is headed, because we just have to be afraid of the other at all times, and in as many ways as possible. We got to get very creative about being afraid of the other.
Yep. Also, kind of wrapped up in all of this, this is a known thing from Space Brothers, but the threat of nuclear war and the intended beginning of nuclear disarmament by way of these Space Brothers was also a threat to the government, effectively, because they were making a public upswell to disarm the nation, effectively. So because of all these things, they thought that the government started to realize that there could be sweeping societal change because of these contactees and the growing movement of thousands and thousands and probably millions of people that were rapidly tuned into all of these contacts in the 1950s. And they made this a pretty heavy priority to just cut all of this shit down. This led to a series of covert intelligence programs that were basically aimed to disrupt the entire contactee UFO enthusiast movement of the time period. That was going to take place in 3 steps. Stage 1 was just surveillance of the contactees by various intelligence agencies to discern the scope and the implications of human and extraterrestrial interaction. So they were just going to basically observe and try to get as much data about these people and what it's doing as possible. Stage 2 was a more active phase of debunking and discrediting contactees and their supporters. So this is where the disinformation stuff comes into play, and we'll get more into how they did that later. There's a couple very fun things to do with that. And finally, stage 3 was when this whole program was going to be integrated into the FBI's COINTELPRO program, which provides the necessary cover to neutralize any possible threat by contactees who might join other dissident groups or for comprehensive policy changes. So basically, if these contactees or any people following them started to get involved in dissident groups or any of the groups that COINTELPRO was targeting, it also made effectively. So not only are they going to be tracking people that and trying to dissuade people who try to join these radical groups, but they're also basically making UFO contactees a group targeted by COINTELPRO. It is the foundation of this.
Okay. That's. I don't know how much I like that idea.
This is very there's a whole thing that we could try to get into about like the actual we did in 3 episodes of the disinformation stuff that you did. Like we did a very long series on that, and that is probably the more actual side of this stuff. But this is the way for exopolitics to get harassed by the government, effectively.
Yeah, and it's almost. I mean, it's like they're kind of trying to pull the more political, the political aspect of COINTELPRO. It's like they're trying to kind of wring it out and make it a me thing. Yeah.
I mean, they are like, oh, they're still doing. They did all that other stuff, but we were the secret target. Like the secret third target or whatever the fuck. And
Jesus.
that is silly. But there are government programs that have done stuff to UFO believers.
Right, of course.
But COINTELPRO was very targeted at other things.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeez. So all 3 of these stages would basically be run by the CIA, the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, and the NSA. These were the main organizations involved in all of these efforts to discredit and neutralize the threat of alien knowledge. Then we get into kind of the actual phases. So that was kind of the broad, and now we're going to get into some of the meat of it. They pull from some declassified FBI documents that establish that various prominent contactees were subjected to close monitoring, and their statements and activities were investigated, and field agents directly issued reports to the FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. So basically, they believe there are declassified FBI documents proving that the FBI was monitoring contactees, which is honestly a thing that I would believe.
Yeah. What do they have they pointed to the like specific documents? Like,
I think if I went into the appendices and stuff, they would be able to find, there'd probably be some of them. But I didn't go that deep.
Gotcha.
Because they cite a lot of, like, we are going to get to a point where they're citing Majestic 12 documents. Like,
yeah,
they have citations for everything, but are those citations true? I would have to do a lot of digging.
Yeah.
And so George Van Tassel is one of the first people they talk about. He claims that in August of 1953, he had a physical meeting with a human-looking extraterrestrial from Venus. He then would establish regular telepathic communications with them and was given information that he then shared to his supporters and various other public entities. Van Tassel became more and more popular as people read his newsletters, and he started to attend public lectures. And he eventually founded his annual giant rock flying saucer conventions in the Mojave Desert, which began in 1954 and became a key annual event for the contactee movement over the next 23 years. So that was a pretty long-running convention. And supposedly the FBI had interest in Van Tassel dating from November of 1953, after he had sent a letter to the Air Technical Intelligence Center at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base on behalf of his commander Ashtar to deliver a friendly warning concerning the destructive weapons that were then under development. Commander Ashtar is one of the people that one of George Van Tassel's like contactee characters.
Yeah, he's like an alien guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember.
So he basically just delivered a letter to the Air Force saying, "Hey, my alien friend really thinks you should stop with these destructive weapons you're working on," which is a pretty fun move. And this led to a meeting between George Van Tassel and Major S. Avner of the AFOSI, who met with him along with a liaison for the FBI. And this led to two special agents interviewing Van Tassel personally in 1954. They sent a pretty extensive memo of all of this to J. Edgar Hoover, and Hoover seemed specially interested in what Van Tassel had to say about what the extraterrestrials told him about atomic weapons, an upcoming Third World War, and their ability to telepathically communicate with Van Tassel. And they actually have, from another FBI document that they got that was dated April 12th, 1965, it does state Van Tassel has been known to the Los Angeles FBI office since 1954. So all of this stuff, they have like some stuff, FBI documents that do denote Van Tassel was kind of monitored for quite some time.
Yeah,
so
that's not totally surprising. I'm curious is that where the story ends with him being monitored, or do we have details on
it then just gets wrapped into the rest of the stuff later? Like what this starts with is basically going through proving that various contactees from the 1950s were monitored by the FBI for the things they were putting out into the world. And George Van Tassel is one of the kind of like smaller ones. George Adamski gets a bit more here because he seems to be one of the main people for this whole thing. Like he gets referenced maybe as much as anybody else in this document.
See, and of course, on the other end of it, it's like Adamski gets thought of more as like a, I don't know, could you say useful idiot, or even more cynically, he was just straight up working with them.
And that's the fun thing that there's like a couple twists on this. I'm going to try to get through this stuff a little quicker because we've been through some of these people already, and I don't need to go in depth on them again.
Sure, yeah.
But there's stuff later on that I think is really interesting, especially like two little things that I can think of that I really want to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
So
go ahead.
George Adamski is also another one who was monitored by the FBI. He first became known in 1947 for his photos of flying saucers and motherships in Mount Palomar, California. He wrote a book called Flying Saucers Have Landed in 1953, which was based on his encounter with another Venusian named Orthon. And that, yet again, dangers of nuclear weapons and possibility of all life being destroyed.
Classic Space Brothers stuff.
Yeah. Then he had a second encounter in 1953 where he was picked up by two extraterrestrials at a Los Angeles hotel lobby and driven to a secret location where he again met Orthon and was taken inside a Venusian mothercraft. All this stuff led to the FBI taking an interest in him in 1950 when a confidential source began giving information to the FBI's San Diego office. This seemed to perk up for them when Adamski was starting to talk about how the social system used by extraterrestrials most closely resembled communism, and because of that, it really perked up the ears of people at the FBI, and they started to deeply monitor him.
Okay.
Especially when he also claimed this country is a corrupt form of government and capitalists are enslaving the poor. So, to a degree, it feels like they're more worried about his red beliefs than they are his alien things.
Yeah.
But this led to Adamski being viewed as a quote unquote security matter. He also was name dropped in the same document that led to them that said they were monitoring Van Tassel. So that seems to be some kind of briefing on, I guess, like California contactees in the 1950s or something.
Yeah, but keep in mind too also that this is a guy that, like I said, if you dig around, he has like these neo-Nazi connections. So it's like, I do wonder if Adamski himself is just like a full-on psyop, right? Like,
it's definitely like it's very much possible.
So
and that's really like ever since we did the disinformation episode, all of this stuff has just taken an entirely different turn for me. But in this aspect, I'm trying to just like be like, okay, we're just going to accept that this is the reality of it, because otherwise this would have already fell apart.
Yeah.
We would already be done if we were trying to poke holes in this. So it got worse when Adamski gave a lecture at a California Lions Club in 1953, which was covered by a local newspaper. And the newspaper reported that Adamski had official FBI and Air Force clearance to present his material to the public.
Oh, okay.
And Adamski claimed that would just insist that the newspaper report was incorrect, but that led to a visit by the FBI and Air Force, who made him sign a document that stated his material did not have official clearance.
Okay.
So he got spanked by the FBI there. This also led to them kind of keeping tabs on his international travel, along with all of his public statements and reactions of the public to him. And he supposedly was given private audiences with Pope John the 23rd and Queen Juliana of the Netherlands, along with other VIPs. I don't know why that is in here. It doesn't get referenced anywhere else, but they brought it up in all of the stuff listing about George Adamski. I think just to make him sound like official, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it has like nothing to do with anything. Then he was also basically followed to a New Zealand conference that he went to, and they found out that basically a list of all the talking points he gave at that speech were circulating in the FBI, CIA, Air Force, and Navy, confirming that they were continuing to monitor him. They also would go on to monitor Daniel Fry, George Hunt Williamson, and a guy named Truman Bethurum, who I don't think we've covered. I don't know that name.
No, I don't recognize that name.
But that basically led to, that was basically the extent of the monitoring project. It was all just monitoring contactees who were giving subversive talks to the public and gaining a following. Then we get to stage 2, which is the debunking and discrediting of all of these contactees. And this was kind of they keep bringing up the Orson Welles broadcast as like a sign of public panic, you know, like this is what happens when the public is met with alien life, and that will cause a widespread panic that would destabilize the nation effectively. And that is like what they cite as the reasoning for the government not wanting any alien stuff to get out.
Okay, and this is what the exopolitics folks believe is this. That's their reference point.
That's one of their
Okay.
along with which does have some merit, even though I believe that whole thing is kind of misremembered and a hoax. It wasn't actually, but
and
there is a government belief in similar things, like when you get into the Brookings report and stuff like that. They do have a belief that if the world learned about the existence of extraterrestrial life, it would cause a destabilization, especially in the religious sects.
Sure.
So I know that's a thing, but
the Orson Welles example. I mean, at that point, we're not even that far removed from people screaming and crying in a movie theater because they thought a train was coming at them. So I don't know. It's a bit dated. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's one of the things they cite as the reasoning for the CIA leading all these covert psychological operations to educate the American public about the quote-unquote correct facts concerning flying saucer reports and contactee claims. They actually, one of the first things they did in this effort was to initiate the creation of an interagency government group called the Psychological Strategy Board, which would deal with national security threats through covert psychological operations. So basically a psyop division.
Right.
This is the thing, I guess. It was a presidential directive on April 4th, 1951, which created this whole thing. And what their stated goals were to authorize and provide for the more effective planning, coordination, and conduct within the framework of approved national policies of psychological operations. And this was set up by Gordon Gray, who's a name that pops up in a lot of this stuff in this era. He was an advisor to President Truman and later to also Eisenhower. Supposedly, this was all set up to deal with the psychological operations of the Cold War. So it was to deal with attempted destabilization stuff from Russia. But this was covering up its true function because it was created to deal with the national security threat posed by flying saucer reports and contactee claims.
Gotcha. Okay.
And their evidence for this is these leaked government documents, in which Gray is described as a founding member of Majestic 12. And this was their attempt to take control of the extraterrestrial issue. According to one of the leaked Majestic documents, President Truman created the Psychological Strategy Board after a recommendation by the head of the MJ-12. So Gordon Gray. So here it is. This is where you just have to run with the fact that Majestic 12 is their reasoning for this. And so this is an interagency thing. So I guess it does fall under, but they don't talk about this for too much longer. Once we get into other things, they just start talking about the FBI, the NSA, and the AFOSIA or AFOSI. So this just seems like they set it up and it was running in the background of all this stuff to debunk conspiracy theories. So then there was the Robertson panel, which we've discussed, that recommended the kind of clamping down of any belief in flying saucer phenomenon in government documents. And so the thing that came out of the Robertson panel was called the Durant Report. And the report focused basically on the national security threat posed by foreign powers exploiting the American public's belief in the flying saucer phenomenon. It stated subjectivity of public to mass hysteria and greater vulnerability to possible enemy psychological warfare if reporting channels are saturated with false and poorly documented reports, our capability of detecting hostile activity will be reduced. And this, I think, is interesting because out of everything in this is the thing that actually feels like a possible thing the government would do. Because what it seems to be saying is all the attempts to really just weed out the talk about flying saucers was so that if the foreign powers tried to use flying saucers as a way to get to freak out the American public, they would be able to identify and deal with those threats quicker due to the lack of false reporting.
That is interesting. especially considering how this era is also the one that I don't know. We've really been scrutinizing on this show lately as like UFO events conducted by the US government. So it's like, no, seriously, we think, which I remember reading that like as the Soviets, like our panic around UFOs from the late 40s into the 50s wasn't ever, as far as I found out, exploited or really even brought up in Soviet Union like propaganda and media. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I remembered reading in one of the articles that I got into. I didn't see any examples of like that being used against us.
I know there are people that believe Roswell was a psyop by the Russians. Now, they're probably not citing the things that you looked up because this is like a pretty out there conspiracy belief. But there are theories of stuff like that that some people believe.
Well, and like the Soviets also get blamed for the Washington, D.C. flyover of like, what, 1952? So like, it's like the most obvious answer. But like, I don't know,
because they're the great villain of that era.
Right, exactly. But you think about it and it's like, well, what would that even accomplish? What would be the point of it? And I'm saying this also amid where we've just like recently shot down a Chinese spy balloon. So I don't know. It just seems I don't know. I don't even know anymore.
No, I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree. I just think that like out of all of the things that out of all of the stuff they have presented so far, this is the only thing that even smacks of like, oh, this could actually be. I could see this being an actual government.
Definitely,
thing.
And it also feels a little bit like it could be a smokescreen if you follow certain theories of UFOs from this.
That's the fun thing of all of this is that everyone takes different things as smokescreens. And everyone, because of that, is able to draw entirely different conclusions from the same bank of information.
There is just zero. Everything is true and everything is false. There's no way there's no boundary to bump up against. It's really strange. God, I mean, I don't know. The biggest double-edged sword of the fucking United States of America is just like total distrust of authority, but then like that distrust also warps in weird ways. And when authority has the distrust of the populace, it becomes this weapon of psychological operations. It's very strange. The whole thing is very strange. And people in the Discord have been commenting like, I've been telling people about all this shit that I've been reading about, and they're like, "You're trying to fry your brain," and it effectively is frying my brain.
You're going to drive yourself into a paranoid, like
for real.
You're going to start just becoming the ending of Blair Witch Project in your room. You know?
Basically, yeah.
So one other thing that this Durant report stated was that the panel's concept of a broad educational program integrating efforts of all concerned agencies was that it should have two major aims: training and debunking. The debunking aim would result in reduction in public interest in flying saucers, which today evokes a strong psychological reaction. This education could be accomplished by mass media, such as television, motion pictures, and popular articles. Such a program should tend to reduce the current gullibility of the public and consequently their susceptibility to clever, hostile propaganda. And that brings me into the whole thing that we were talking about of like using the mass media to seed ideas in people. And yet again, this isn't. This is like the more believable thing of like, oh, we're just going to make aliens a pretty common thing in media so that people are less likely to freak out if someone mentions aliens, you know? And that is a thing that I also could see just going, I could see them trying that, you know?
Sure, yeah.
I don't know why I started advocating for this stuff in the middle. This is just like the one little nugget of this that it feels the least ridiculous to me, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've said it a million times now, but there is always a problem that is, I think, mostly correctly identified in a lot of conspiracy theory, and we just veer the fuck off course at certain forks in the road, I guess.
Yeah. So they would use their listed debunking techniques here are making fun of contactee claims, media exaggeration of reported events, dismissal of all physical evidence by critics, repeatedly citing prominent authority figures who stress delusion and fraud, and emphasizing the lack of scientific interest in contactee reports. The Durant report created the necessary legal justification to debunk evidence provided by contactees, regardless of the merits of their claims. So basically, they're just saying, throughout all these debunking systems, no matter how credible a report is, they will find a way to make it seem silly to the general public.
Yep, and that's, this is again also in line with where Dr. Hynek landed after he left, after Project Blue Book got dissolved.
He's actually cited in here.
Okay.
I will get to him in just a second.
Nice.
They reference a thing with Adamski where he had this meeting with some kind of hush-hush people and was given these documents that he believed he was able to be cleared to distribute, and had even made public statements of this. And that led to the FBI's Public Relations Department and a man named Louis B. Nichols instructing a special agent to meet with Adamski concerning the document in question. And he was basically just ripped apart. He was read the Riot Act, they say, in no uncertain terms, pointing out that he has used this document in a fraudulent, improper manner, that this bureau has not endorsed, approved, or cleared his speeches or books. And this led the public view of Adamski to take a huge blow and made everything that he stated to be, discredited, and people really thought that this made him a joke. And now what that probably actually was the stuff that got debunked. But they're saying that was part of the COINTELPRO type discrediting arm.
Right. Oh God. Okay. Jesus. Right. Got it.
Because wasn't it something like that? They basically found that a lot of the documents he was putting out there were entirely fake.
Yeah, and his UFO photos were like chicken coop light bulbs and shit. Oh God. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm just it's hitting me how many conflicting things I learned about so many of these figures in ufology and all this stuff that I'm just like, a headache is coming on.
Yeah. So just to tie in some more fun stuff, they would use various other means to debunk people, such as tabloid newspapers, notably the National Enquirer.
Nice.
What was not generally known was that the National Enquirer was created and controlled by known CIA assets, whose covert assignment was to ridicule the entire flying saucer phenomena.
Okay. I thought I remembered reading that there was a connection to somebody important with the National Enquirer, but I don't know if it had anything to do with the CIA. What are they basing that off of?
A man named Gene Pope bought the New York Enquirer in 1952 and relaunched it as the National Enquirer in 1954. Pope was listed in his biography as being a former CIA intelligence officer and being involved in quote-unquote psychological warfare.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That's kind of fun.
Yep. So this became an arm to make, basically, they would put out ridiculous, the theory is they would put out ridiculous contactee claims to make the entire concept of people being met by aliens as just make
absurd,
it ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so that way they can also run stuff about serious contactees that lumps them into the same boat as Hillary Clinton giving birth to an alien baby and such. And so this leads to just the overall public perception of UFOs and UFO contactees to take a major hit. That's the theory.
Okay.
And yet again, we get Donald Kehoe.
Oh yeah.
He emphasized the need to separate genuine UFO reports from the quote unquote mass of wild tales and usually ridiculous contactee claims. He, along with other UFO researchers, were very concerned about all of the contactee claims that were exaggerated to the press. He said, the press unfortunately lump all spaceman reports together, causing many people to reject all of the UFO evidence. So we set up Kehoe in the last episode as one of the people that gets cited a lot by the Exopolitics people. And so here they're using him to basically say that all of these projects have made every contactee seem ridiculous. And now we get into the actual Galactic COINTELPRO program. This was a program that was initiated in 1956. COINTELPRO was, then ended in 1971, allegedly. It was primarily run by the FBI and other intelligence agencies, such as the CIA and NSA, in select covert activities. and it targeted political dissidents, mainly the Black Panthers in the U.S. And this is the thing that they claim, that it was all these dissidents were being influenced by foreign powers in ways that deemed a threat to U.S. national security.
Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, so cut that part out. Who gives a shit? But that's what they think. And the reason, I feel like the reason they put it that way specifically is because they then can swap in foreign powers to off-worlders.
Right. Yeah.
So it makes it so it's more directly targeting to contactees.
Yep. I get it.
Yep. So Venus is now working with the Black Panthers. So he states that there were two significant differences in how COINTELPRO was respectively used against political dissidents and used against contactees. First, while intelligence agents were fully briefed about the foreign powers influencing political dissidents, it is unlikely they were fully briefed in the case of contactees. So basically, the agents weren't briefed on the aliens that the government fully knows about and is trying to suppress. They were just told this guy's a fucking weirdo. And second, while COINTELPRO against political dissidents was exposed and apparently ended in 1971, the COINTELPRO used against contactees was never exposed. It almost certainly continues to the present.
Oh my, I mean, God. Yeah, sure. Whatever. Yeah. Whatever they want. At this point, whatever.
Yeah. So they then go into some of the methods of COINTELPRO, which we have covered. But we then get back into the UFO stuff, where do you remember the church committee from the COINTELPRO stuff?
Vaguely.
It was a Senate committee chaired by Frank Church that investigated all of the COINTELPRO methods and targets.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
So then the church committee published a report in 1976, and that's one of the documents that we have about COINTELPRO.
Right. Man, I would love for one of these Exopolitics guys to explain what the CIA assassinating MLK has to do with, psyoping, alien believers and contactees and stuff.
I would also love to hear that. But what's fun here is the church committee did not discuss COINTELPRO in regard to the UFO issues or contactee claims. Despite that omission, circumstantial evidence clearly points to COINTELPRO being used against contactees and was the final stage of a well-orchestrated counterintelligence program to disrupt and neutralize the contactee movement. So, hey, it wasn't called out directly, but they definitely were.
God.
Yeah. One of their main methods used in the galactic COINTELPRO was to effectively create a stronger divide between those who were studying UFOs from a scientific point of view and those who were contactees. So they really wanted to just completely destroy any contactee's credibility, because they could easily say that people who are scientists, that those claims could easily be a hallucination, or could be just a mentally unwell person. Like, you can make a scientist disbelieve someone meeting aliens pretty easily, was their thought. And they were really just aiming to make it so they could make it so that any contactee would just be disbelieved by the public. We've already talked about some of those methods, but they also used Project Blue Book for this. So Project Blue Book was a part of the Galactic COINTELPRO, where they would go out and interview all the contact people who had seen UFOs and everything, some contactees, along with UFO sightings. And the Project Blue Book was basically trying to carry out the first part of the education program recommended by the Durant Report. It would train the general public how to correctly evaluate the UFO data in ways that would diffuse public and media interest in such reports. So basically, they wanted to make it as boring as fucking possible, so it didn't hold the attention of the public. They were a key part of these covert psychological operations that were basically made to make the public think that UFO reports were not important and not worth considering. Because they gave us a very highly visible public investigation through Project Blue Book, we thought that it was being taken care of, and the reports were so boring we didn't care. So that allowed the public to basically tune out of UFO research.
I don't want to skip ahead or anything, but Are we going to talk about what these exopolitics guys, what their theory of modern, like contemporary UFO phenomena, what that's like, or are we?
No, this theory is from this whole thing was from a report from like 2010, maybe. Like it was from a little while ago, and they are really. If you want to get into the more modern stuff, it gets pretty tricky because the world is in such like weird turmoil right now. There's a lot of stuff about like China and their secret space program.
Okay.
So over the last however many years, Michael Salla has really gotten into secret space programs. Hey, same. And so he has like a 7-part book series on secret space programs because that is where a lot of this stuff, I feel like they kind of plumbed the depths of the historical stuff pretty early and now are just like trying to find content.
Yeah.
It really feels like.
I just want to hear their take on the current situation with regards to government disclosure of UFOs and how the last, I don't know, 5 years, we've really been ramping up this whole government supports the idea of UFOs, quote, supposedly, and they put out a lot of.
That would be an interesting thing to look into. Maybe I'll look into that and see if I can find something.
Just curious
about
what
their
they
current
think.
Point of view.
Yeah.
But so that's that is my. Oh, sorry. Earlier, I promised Dr. J. Allen Hynek would get involved in this.
Oh, yeah.
And here is so. In a book purporting to provide the scientific foundations of UFO research, Dr. J. Allen Hynek dismissed testimonies of contactees who he regarded as pseudo-religious fanatics with low credibility value. And here's his quote. I must emphasize that contact reports are not classed as close encounters of the third kind. It is unfortunate, to say the least, that reports such as these have brought down upon the entire UFO problem the opprobrium and ridicule of scientists and public alike, keeping alive the popular image of little green men and the fictional atmosphere surrounding that aspect of the subject.
Okay, I see. I must say once again, I have that exact book right here in my hands this very moment. I need to finish reading this shit. But I think he might be, in a sense, right about that one, if I'm being honest.
I mean, there is a lot of public outcry and just like people being like, you silly motherfuckers, you're making shit up. Like that became a thing. A lot of like people really scoff and laugh at UFO contact stuff now.
Yeah.
Then there's another thing that gets wrapped in here that I really liked. There was a kind of a wing of this whole project that would deal in a more sinister side in terms of unsavory and vicious tactics used against contactees. Any guess as to something that we already know about that would be doing vicious and unsavory tactics?
Gang stalking, microwave guns.
Okay. See, gang stalking would actually make some sense, but no, we're going a little more high concept.
Okay. Oh, is it like vibrational energy stuff? Like we're bringing people's energies down?
No, Kyle, it's the Men in Black.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. All right. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
I wasn't even close, but you know, do my guesses seem that unreasonable?
Look, the gang stalking made a lot of sense, and that when you said that, I was like, oh, that would actually make a lot of sense to fit in right here. But no, we're talking Men in Black.
Okay.
Because we're not quite that. We have to stay in the world of the fun. Okay. This is a thing. Gang stalking and a lot of like modern conspiracy theories about like trafficking and all this stuff are very, very like
unpleasant.
The concepts are very believable. Like there is trafficking, there are covert surveillance and stuff like that. They're based on these very like believable things. Whereas I feel like the Men in Black comes from an era where we still really like to think about everyone being in trench coats and hats and like doing spycraft. Like it comes from a previous era of like this like almost like romanticized government agent kind of thing.
Sort of exciting idea where now it's just hyper paranoia. Like yeah.
And so this a lot of the exopolitics stuff exists in that previous era of still kind of romantic, kind of lofty shit.
Right.
So we're in the Men in Black. So the Men in Black phenomena has been described by various researchers who discovered that individuals with extraterrestrial-related experiences were often threatened and harassed by well-dressed men in dark business suits who gave the appearance of being public officials. So that's your basic concept of what Men in Black is. These people, a lot of this is based on a special operations manual that has been leaked. I guess it was a leaked document that a number of veteran UFO researchers consider to be legitimate, which is one of their big citing things, is saying, oh yeah, a lot of people who look into this stuff say it's real. And that manual states, if at all possible, witnesses will be held incommunicado until the extent of their knowledge and involvement can be determined. Witnesses will be discouraged from talking about what they have seen, and intimidation may be necessary to ensure their cooperation. There also were investigations conducted by the U.S. Air Force in 1967, was, or at least the memo published about them was then, where they were looking into reports of Men in Black impersonating Air Force officials. They described instances where civilians had been contacted by individuals claiming to be members of NORAD and demanded evidence possessed by witnesses. So this seems to bring out the idea that Men in Black were effectively the enforcement division of the counterintelligence effort put forth by all the people we've talked about: the FBI, the Air Force's Office of Special Intelligence, the Navy Office of Naval Intelligence, and even the CIA. They also believe that the Men in Black were associated with even more secretive intelligence agencies such as the National Security Agency, the NSA, and the NRO. So they could go even higher up the food chain. This led to a sort of pecking order inside of the Galactic COINTELPRO to be established. It used all of those people, but the FBI and the AFOSI were primarily used in intelligence gathering and would monitor the activities of contactees as evidenced in Freedom of Information Act documents. But the CIA was involved in the coordinating all the debunking and discrediting efforts. And then the NSA and the NRO were involved in all of the tracking and interactions with extraterrestrial life. They were basically the highest up. So in terms of like secrecy, that's the order of it. You get the FBI and OSI were pretty low. CIA is the next level up. And then NSA, NRO are like the super high secret classified shit. And yeah, that is the kind of structure of it. They there's a couple little things at the end here. They would basically keep various organizations out of the loop on certain things. Like they talked about, they wouldn't fully brief the FBI agents who were going to monitor these people on the alien reality. And this was supposedly evidenced by Vice Admiral Tom Wilson, who was the head of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who they seem to think that he was just reportedly out of the loop on extraterrestrial related projects. And they just throw this out there like it means anything. And I don't know why they put it there, but they're basically trying to prove that there's this like hierarchy of knowledge in this organization.
Some people are omitted.
A lot of people just don't know what's actually going on. And so they can basically it seems like they're trying to make it so the FBI can't deny this thing.
Right.
And make it seem like it means anything. So that's like the whole concept of the Galactic COINTELPRO movement.
I got it.
How are you feeling?
I full, like, complete honesty. I like, if I pulled these headphones off, you'd see smoke coming out of my ears. And it, you know, it's partially my fault. You know, I didn't get the best sleep last night, but like, I just, the more I iterate over these like conspiracy stories and add new dimensions to them, the more my brain starts to shut down.
Well, especially when you're getting, because the people writing this are the people that most want to benefit from the things that it is that they're proposing here. Like there is a very, they have the skin in the game here.
Right.
So they're contorting all of these events and all these documents and even finding these fake documents in the things such as the Majestic 12. And because they're really talking about how the government has this widespread disinformation and discrediting thing, anything could be real because they can just say that it was being discredited.
Yeah.
That it's subject to the Galactic COINTELPRO.
Like,
So there's no accountability.
I feel like you ever you know how people are be like, you know what, Kyle, what would you tell your younger self? You know, they have those thought experiments, if you will. If I could speak to my younger self, I would go to the self from 3 years ago doing the COINTELPRO episode, and I would put my arm around him, and then I'd point a gun to his head, and I'd say, in a couple years, you're going to find out that people believe that the COINTELPRO is a smokescreen for alien COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to, other Kyle's going to be sweating and crying, and then I'm going to click the gun and it's not going to be loaded, but it scared the other Kyle and sent him down an entirely different path. That's what I'd tell you. That's what I'd tell younger Kyle.
The younger Kyle would then get really into researching time travel theories because you have to find some way to account for what has
just happened. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it kind of abandons the whole conspiracy research thing and just fully leans into the time travel aspect. So, in other words, what I'm saying is I would have ruined the podcast.
Sometimes I feel like sometimes we both just go down these rabbit holes, and that would have been a more extensive one. But there are times where one of us just really gets on a tear of a specific type of thing, like when I hijacked 3 months to talk about deep underground military bases. It happens, I would talk about time travel with you for a while.
Thank you.
I might eventually say,
all right,
hey, we should do some other things.
Enough is enough.
But a couple episodes here and there, I'm perfectly into it.
I honestly peek behind the curtain here. I actually don't like talking about time travel, or at least not researching it and trying to talk about it myself, just because I find trying to justify any weird stuff in a time travel story just really annoying to do. I don't want to do that work, I don't want to think about that. So that's
whereas I'm much more willing just to ride the wave of it and just be like, I don't have to justify it because I'm just reporting what I found.
And
I don't have to justify jack shit.
Thank you so much for going out and researching this and finding out how these people justify this shit, because I would have broke down sobbing reading this stuff. Just I can't handle it anymore. I'm already so far off in the weeds with these fucked up, bleak things that I'm reading about the, government conspiracy stuff. And it's to just throw this wrench in everything with the alien COINTELPRO is just oh my God, wild.
Yeah, so I guess that'll bring us to a big question.
Sure.
We've gone galactic now with COINTELPRO.
Oh God.
Well, if you could go galactic with any other conspiracy theory, what would it be?
Is it too dark to say Gladio?
Jesus. I mean, if you can find a way to make it work, go for it. But that is, if you want there to be galactic Gladio, Operation Gladio.
This is one that I want to happen. No, not Gladio.
No,
I mean, can we start? I mean, would it be? Here's a fun one. What about intergalactic cryptids? But that's just aliens, right?
Yeah, that's basically just aliens.
Oh, fuck.
I was gonna say I'm gonna go with a galactic no forest on flat Earth.
Oh, now how the fuck does that work?
There are no trees anywhere in the fucking galaxy. It's all rock formations.
Okay.
And it's actually all a psyop by Ents.
Oh.
So Ents are on another planet, and they're trying to seed themselves on various other planets around the galaxy. And they're doing so by perpetuating the myth of trees.
Okay. Wow, that's... I like that. So is the idea that when Ents arrive on our planet, we'll just be like, oh, well, that's just a tree.
Yeah, and so they'll be able to lull us into a false sense of security, and pretty soon, Earth is just going to be an Ent world.
And it's going to turn into Middle Earth.
Yeah. Yep.
I honestly don't, because cryptids is not a good answer. That's that's just aliens. What about ghosts? Ghosts in space.
I mean, ghosts in space is fun. So, does it have to be people who have died in space? You can pretty easily think of ghosts of other alien races.
Sure. Or maybe this is ghosts of people on Earth who died, and then they were like, what the hell? I'm just constantly walking around this mansion banging on pipes and stuff. And then they look up and they're like, wait, there's a big old galaxy out there. And they fucking fly out into the universe and soar around into the black abyss of outer space. That could be kind of fun. You have so much time.
Was that the premise of Space Ghost?
Yes, that was Space Ghost's whole thing. It's very existential.
And then he
if
got
you
a
watch,
talk show for some reason.
Yeah, if you watch the original, it's very sort of like contemplative. It's just a lot of him drifting in space alone, thinking about things. But you know, had broad appeal that way. So
in some ways, this is almost what the end of Interstellar is about.
oh shit, I haven't seen that one.
But
Tom Hanks just get blasted out into space. And he's like, well, might as well think about things while I'm out here dying in the vacuum.
What movie do you think I'm talking
I don't know.
about?
You said Interstellar, right? Is that not the Tom Hanks one?
No.
Okay, well then
that's Matthew McConaughey.
Ah, well, fuck. I don't know anymore.
Yeah. No. I am curious. Have you ever looked to see if you could find any ghost stories of aliens?
No, I haven't really I haven't put a lot of the times it's like people trying to say like, well, ghosts and aliens are one and the same phenomena.
Yeah.
But I haven't found anybody being like, we have ghosts of aliens on Earth, or like we have witnessed ghosts of aliens, you know, out in space or whatever. I haven't seen that. I'll see if I can research that sometime. That's a weird
that sounds
idea.
like a fun thing to try to track down. I have no idea if it exists.
Speaking of
go ahead.
weird ghosts and things like that, Niall, do you want to do a real quick liminal Earth?
Oh yeah, go for it.
What state do you want me to go to? Because I'm in the United States right now.
Let's go to my birth state and go to Iowa.
Okay, all right. Let's see. How does Cedar Rapids a dark forces? There's a dark forces tag here, so let me take a look and see what's going on here in Cedar Rapids. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Whoa. Okay, here's what it says. Dark energy at Dow's Observatory. So this is submitted by Natalie, and it says, around 3 a.m., my friend and I drove to Dow's Observatory because we assumed there would be a nice field to watch the Geminid meteor shower. We pulled into the gravel parking lot. Thankfully, no one was there and got out. I never got both my feet out of the car. Immediately after opening the car door, I felt like something was off. My friend was walking around the parking lot looking for a spot with a good view of the night sky, but I was frozen, gripping onto the hood of my car. In the distance, I felt like I could hear some sort of crying noise, somewhere between human and animal. I was focusing on it, continuing to feel very dark energy, when my friend yelled, "Get in the car, get in the car." I did not ask any questions. She told me she heard footsteps, and when I turned the engine on, the radio said in this deep and staticky voice, "Go to Cornell, the college where I live." We whipped out of that parking lot so fast the entire time we were speeding down Ivanhoe Road. We both felt this almost indescribable feeling. It felt like the road was pulling us back, like it didn't want us to leave. Ooh, okay. So that's a good spot to maybe go sightseeing, and it's probably a good place for like make-out sessions or whatever if you want to have like a really dark...
They really missed the idea that they had accidentally stumbled on the hollowed ground of an ancient olive garden because we're here, your family, and it just didn't want you to leave, you know?
I have no comment on that. Do you want to move on to some business?
Yeah, we'll take care of some business. That's a good note to leave it on. So if you want to find us on social media, we're on Twitter at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Stitcher to Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify. If you listen to podcasts somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're probably there.
Twitch.tv/ItGetsWeird. I am playing through Elden Ring with friend of the show, Colin, and we are so close to beating that fucking thing. It's crazy. So go check us out there. Email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. If you have good pictures of Bigfoot tearing a Confederate flag in half, please send them our way. We would love to see them. Or just any of the other bullshit questions we ask on the show. Feel free to email us. Do people email us any? Oh, if we were like, oh, I didn't watch that Quantum Leap episode, I have no idea if they tried to save JFK. If we say stuff like that, feel free to send us emails and say, actually, here's what happened on Quantum Leap, and here's what you missed. So,
no, it's good.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting.
Everyone, tell us your favorite Quantum Leap
Sure,
episodes.
why
and maybe
not?
I'll finally watch one.
I don't fucking
referencing it all the fucking time.
Please do. Patreon.com/ItGetsWeird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, every other week you're getting a bonus show called It Gets Weird TV, where right now we're watching season 1 of the X-Files. We watch a weird show chosen by listeners, and X-Files is our current thing, and we're fucking loving it, so check that out. At the $5 tier, you get bonus episodes on the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting a bonus episode every single week. You sometimes get a bonus episode from me. You get one from Niall. You get one where we watch movies. We get one where we do all kinds of different stuff. So check that out at the $5 tier. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to our Discord where we're hanging out. People are telling me, Kyle, put the crazy conspiracy books down. Your brain's going to explode. If you want to caution me like everybody else in the Discord, please go ahead and donate to the Patreon. We also have a $1 tier. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I like your show. Here's a tip. Thanks for doing what you do. If you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for listening and supporting the show. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.